You're listening to Bright by Your Side with Jen Dyer. Up-leveling in the age of anxiety with groundbreaking science. Are you looking to live your life with more flow and ease? Every episode, she has enough surprising information and tips that you will be able to come away with at least one nugget that could change your life. You will learn to build resilience to stress and overwhelm, find joy every day, and manifest your dreams. Gain understanding of your little terrified human that is holding you back, and that brave, bright inner being that is nagging you to move forward. She's here to help you feel empowered to make that change. Bright by Your Side starts now.
Welcome to Bright by Your Side, up-leveling in the age of anxiety with groundbreaking science. Yes, it's a lot of words, but we have a lot to share. I'm Jen Dyer. I am your host, and I'm so excited you're here with me today because we are talking teenagers. And if anybody has a teenager, you know it's a really long time you have a teenager in your family, a really long time. And it's a little more challenging than you expected, probably. So I brought a teen expert who's going to talk about communicating with your teen and also going to explain some of the brain development behind it to explain that their behavior, maybe you don't take it so personally. So I would like to introduce Isla Reddin, our teen expert. Isla has devoted the last 18 years to helping young people. She has ushered thousands of young people from grade school through high school, through university, and even into the workplace. And that's big. So Isla has some great tips for you to help de-escalate the situation and maybe even get through to them without adding pressure. So I'd like everyone to welcome Isla Reddin to our show. Welcome, Isla.
Thank you, Jen. I am so happy to be here.
We are excited. So Isla, how about you start out with what brought you to your journey and devoting your life to helping young people, which is so noble.
Well, it has been a journey, and it actually all started with my own children. So I have two boys, and I started on my journey when my oldest was 8 and didn't want to go to school anymore because he was bored and he couldn't see any point in it. And that gave me the deep dive into what's happening in the psychology of children, of learning, what happens in the classroom, what goes right, what doesn't go so right. And that started the journey that got sort of intensified a lot in the teenage years. So my kids are 5 years apart. So I thought, having gotten the first one through the teenage years, we both survived it. I thought I had a PhD in teenage parenting, and then the second one came along. Could not have been more different and really created for me a level of anxiety, an awareness that I didn't know what was going on, an awareness that there was this myth that was called hormones and risky behavior and all these things that I didn't even believe were true, but I didn't know anything else. So fast forward, the kids grew up, but having been a coach for so many years, intuitively, I went back and went, there's something else, there's something else, there's something else. And if I know what the something else is, I can help parents. And the something else for me was learning all about the brain development that happens in that period of time.
Well, and that's the thing, we're learning that actually there's so much science behind our behavior. And once you understand it, it's much easier to manage. You can actually change things. You're not stuck a certain way. So that's just wonderful. I'm sure you're excited to share that with other people, especially other parents who are struggling. So I can totally see how when you get this gift of knowledge, you want to share it. So yeah, let's dive into that the brain development, because it is really difficult to take this stuff in stride sometimes. Like for myself, I could be really mean. I remember saying really mean things when I was a teenager. And so, it'd be nice to give myself a little forgiveness for some of my behavior. Don't want to relive those years at all. So yeah, let's explain the brain development that drives this behavior.
Well, I think the first thing that we're the adults now having raised the kids. So we've done full circle, and I can certainly go back to moments of raising my own kids and thinking, oh my God, what on earth was I thinking when I said that or acted like that, and kind of went to bed just feeling so guilty, embarrassed, all of that stuff that is human nature, in fact. But the piece that is so important to know is we already have a very strong awareness of the development that takes place from 0 to 5 years, because we have this little thing that arrives that is capable of anything, and suddenly by 5 they're going to kindergarten and they're riding a bike, and so, but we watch this trajectory of development. And although there's a lot of it that we don't particularly understand, and a lot of it we may not enjoy, we see it, we understand it, and we're good. The reality is there's every bit as much change and development happening in the teenage years. We don't see it physically in the same way. We somehow expect our kids, by the time they're teenagers, to be just smaller versions of us, or a little less mature versions of us. In reality, they're not that at all, because the brain doesn't complete its development until age 25. And
25.
all of the, exactly, and
25
all the
is really old.
the attitude, yes, and then we call them adults at 18, right? We say, go off to war, go vote,
Right.
go to college, go be an adult, go be independent, go take care of yourself at 18, without, and if there hasn't been adequate preparation, it may not all turn out well.
Yes. So I'm a mom. I have a daughter. She's now 25. I thought I was done years ago. I'm just thinking, honestly, she's been fabulous. She's great. But having both of us girls in the house, I mean, it was she's very independent, and it was just I was the punching bag, right? So and I took it as well as I could. It was tough for me to not turn into a teenager when she would say things that were so teenagery. You kind of want to snap back with your best teenager response. And it is a challenge to be the grown up and try to de-escalate the situation. So okay, so knowing that they have this development that they need to go through and they're still in the middle of it. Can maybe kind of explain, well, actually, how about we talk about trying to get them to open up to us without putting that pressure on. There's something driving them away from us. But we're also worried about what they're into, especially now with the mental health crisis. We're all trying to we want to make sure we're not that parent that's clueless, and then their kid is off doing something, whether it's self-medicating or worse. How do you get them to open up about their life to you without putting this pressure on?
Well, a good question and a tough one always, because there's a biological need to become increasingly independent, to become an adult, and to go out into the world. So you can't actually stop this human machine, so to speak, that's moving forward. All of this development is happening. It's, for me, what was magical about learning this information was that I was able to understand from more of a theoretical point of view, maybe more than emotional, what was happening at different points in the journey for my child, right? So when there's, during those adolescent years, because the development is sort of asynchronous, what's happening is that the brain, it prunes itself. There's so much going on, Jen. Anyway, I'll try and
that was a big question. It's early in the show. I figured we could tackle big.
and you're in my passion zone, so but early, the way that the brain develops, it is kind of this, the synapses are closing. It develops from the back forward, which is why the brain is not completely developed until 25. But what that means is that it's the frontal part of the brain that is the last to develop. But this is where judgment is. This is where planning, organization, some decision making, all of these aspects of our brain that help us be able to navigate life are really in the front brain. And what is in highest development, what is most magnified in the teenage years is the emotional brain, which is why we get these tantrums where everything is a crisis. It's all about survival in the moment. You know, you gave me the wrong tea bag, or you gave me the wrong cookie. It needed to be this cookie, and it's a fiasco. Kids don't like that either. We don't like it, and we're confused by it. But I want parents to really understand the kids are as confused by it as we are. Why? They don't know why they react like that either. So the big part of this developmental piece is just being able to realize what the kids are capable of. So we set expectations that they can actually deliver on, and that when we know this, we're sharing this information with them. We're having conversations around it. We're not expecting things without having conversations that say, do you think that we could move this D grade to a B if we had some strategy here? And your child may say to you, absolutely not, because I hate this teacher. Well, okay, let's think about that. Let's work with that. Let's have a conversation around what is it about the teacher that is difficult for you, is a problem for you. So much is really about communicating, and that's where it's so important that you don't allow things to get so broken that you can't communicate anymore.
Right. And we're heading into a break in a couple minutes. So I promise we will come back and we will get some great tips on because that conversation about the D grade to the B grade, that went really well. Like how it's about framing it so that they even listen to you at that point. For me with my daughter, there were times I would walk into the room and she would just roll her eyes and walk away. I was like, I didn't even say anything, but it was just my face made her mad. So, maybe we can get some tips when we come back from the break on how to frame a conversation so that you can get when everybody's de-escalated and they're willing to listen, and maybe we can get some tips on just how do we manage, difficult things like just that independence, but making sure that they're safe. We can get some tips on that. And, because that's a big one, some parents want to snoop around their rooms and things like that. And, it's like a breach of trust. So it's really hard to manage,
Yeah.
So,
yeah, those issues are the ones we need to talk about.
Yes. And again, I think just even learning how to have a conversation and how to frame that in the beginning is the beginning of the intention of talking to them is going to be very helpful. So, again, you guys, this is Isla Reddin, and we're going to come back and get some more tips. Isla is also a coach on the Bright by Your Side website. Under services, you'll see her with myself and other coaches. Very helpful stuff. And I think Isla is actually offering something as well. I don't know if you want to talk about that now, or you want to save that for the end since we have a minute or so.
Well, yes, let me just tease it right now, because I'm so excited. So I put together a bundle for your audience. I'm so excited to have to share this information with parents and teenagers. And so it's a combination of a guide that will be a resource that you can print out. It's got the 10 most common things that we have conflict around and tips on how to manage them. And then an invitation to a masterclass that I'm doing on the 9th of July, which is the opportunity to really spend some time with me, ask your questions, and I'm going to go much deeper into a lot of this information.
That's so great. So after the break, you guys, we're going to go through these great helpful tips that she's going to give us. We're going to walk away with some awesome nuggets on what to do with our teenagers. And then you're going to find out how to get all that awesome stuff, the masterclass and all the great things that she's doing, that she's giving out to our listeners. So thank you so much. And then we will be right back after the break. Welcome back to Bright by Your Side with Jen. I am here with Isla Reddin, our teen expert, and she is going to give us some awesome, clear tips. I keep saying the word awesome, I know, on how to talk to our teen without having it go bad. And also, managing the privacy versus allowing them their independence. And basically, because all we really want as parents is information from our kids. Like, what are you doing? Who are your friends? Are you okay? And when my daughter, I have a daughter who was, a teenage girl. I mean, I would just walk into the room and she would roll her eyes and walk away. So it would be great to know, how do you capture those moments when you can have that really nice level conversation that really is a tactical plan that they can, really digest, because they're very smart. They're very logical. They get the logic. It's just, you just can't put them in that spot where they just hate you. So how do you do that?
Well, one thing that I think is a great tip for having a conversation is never, to the extent that you can, never put yourself face to face with your child, opposite your child. Okay.
Yes.
Don't sit at a table with your child in front of you. Everything you can do to be side by side. So think about when you're driving them. Often you'll find that it's easier to be with your child when you're sitting beside them than it is when you're at home and you're trying to get them at the dinner table or you're sitting opposite them. And there's a reason for that. The kids kind of, actually, if you think about it, we all can get on the defensive pretty fast if we ever feel like we're being judged. And when we put ourselves in front of somebody, we can very quickly sense that we might be being judged and there's something bad coming to us. And especially our kids, they are so highly tuned to maybe doing something wrong or having done something wrong. And so they're defensive automatically. They're right out of the gate, they kind of walk through the door from school defensive, like what's coming up. So everything you can do to be side by side. So take a walk with them, take them for ice cream, drive in the car, have a chat in the car, talk about music. Don't talk about school. Don't ask them questions like, how was school today? Your answer, if you get one at all, will be fine. It will not be anything more detailed than fine. So not a good question.
I love that, because I always kind of equate the teenage years to, like, they're kind of cavemanning out, like they've got all the hormones that are telling them to, like, have all these crazy feelings and that they're not ready for. But the eye contact thing, that's so interesting that you say that, because it's true. There's something that really kind of sets us off when we're being stared down. It's kind of one of those, like, instant defense things when someone's, like, looking at you in the face and you're like, what? Right? You just can't, like, what are you looking at? Right? You want to go there. It's just kind of this inside innate caveman reflex. And I just think they're kind of like, they're trying to sort all that out and tuck it away in their brain development. But it's all just swirling around in them. I love that.
Yeah. And I think, when you're seeing behaviors with your kid, with your teenager especially, think, are they in survival mode? Is there something going on that they're feeling threatened by? Now, they don't want to show us that they're threatened because there's this need to have control. They want control over their lives. We think back to the 5-year-old and we give them 2 outfits to choose from, right? To give them choice. By the time they get to teenagers, they're taking as much control as they can because they don't have that much of it in their lives. They're forced to go to school, they're forced to go to class, they're forced to do their homework. There's so many things that they don't have control over, and yet it's what they're craving. So our job is, given the fact that we don't have that many years until they become 18 and an adult, and we have to do everything to have them have sufficient skills and confidence to be that adult and go out into the world. So constantly watching and observing and sensing into what's going on here, what are the tools that I have in my toolbox that I can use to help and support this child. Because there's a lot of it that's so hard for us as parents, but honestly, there's a lot of it that's incredibly difficult for our kids as well. And we need to give them more grace a lot of times.
Yeah, and all that also speaks to that whole privacy thing. Like I mentioned in the last episode that I worked with foster kids, teenage girls, 13 to 17, and when they would slam the doors, the manager guy would take their door off, right? So they had no place to go. And it was kind of like this, it was really just an exertion of he was exerting his power. It was really not a healthy place to be, which is why I'm no longer doing that. But that need for them to have their space in their room, and our need for it to be clean is how important is us to get involved in their bedroom or get involved in snooping around. Because I do know parents who go through stuff in their kids' room. Like, what do you say to that?
Don't do it. I mean, because again, when you break trust, I think if parents think about what happens if I break trust with the significant others in my life who are adults. Do I go snooping around my husband's phone? Do I go snooping around his office? Do I, as the man, what do I go check with my partner? All of these things, I know that they're kids, I mean, it is different, but at the same time, they're kids that are adults in training. We need to think about what we're teaching them and what we're modeling. If we don't ever trust them, how are they ever going to trust us? They won't. They'll constantly be on the defensive. They will hide everything from us. They won't come to us when they're in trouble because they can't trust us to be safe. We're not a safe place.
Oh, that's heartbreaking to think of it. So, okay, so let's say you're there, like you did some boo-boos, right? So you need to rebuild that trust. And maybe let's say you had another bad argument and you said something really mean back to them, like they were mean to you and then you were mean back. Like, how do you recover from something like that? Because we've all been there.
We've all been there. And the big thing that I want to say to every parent out there is, I know you're doing the best you can and you adore this child of yours. You may not like the behavior today, but you absolutely adore your child. So let me preface what I'm going to say with that. And just say, model the behavior that you want to see in your child all the time. If you mess up, apologize, own it. Because when you own it and you come back and say, I did that, I shouldn't have, you're giving them the opportunity to forgive you and to learn with and from you. And it's that, the apology and modeling that and modeling good behavior, kindness is so valuable. And kids lap it up. They're not going to stay angry. They want to be close to you. They want that connection. It's so incredibly important to them.
And that's so true. Even teenagers down inside, they really are grateful. They just, on the inside, they really do love you. They do really want you to be at all of their things. So, I mean, I love that. I love that about talking to, because it's really all about the communication and having them be honest with you. And so you do that, like you said, like make these moments where you're side by side. Take advantage of that time in the car. Don't just like be listening to your book, your Audible while they're in the back seat or in the, riding with you. take that moment. Yeah. Is there any other like really great nugget, that you would like to share with the audience that can kind of change things really quickly?
Well, I have a quote that I love because it keeps me remembering my responsibility. And the quote is actually from FDR. So it's an old quote, but it says, "We cannot build the future for our youth, but we can build our youth for the future."
Yes.
Now, that is a responsibility that every single parent takes on the day their child is born. And I think that if you keep in mind that you're preparing this bundle for you of yours, this child, this precious human, to be able to become an adult with all of the capacity that you want them to have to be successful, I think that really helps constantly figure out how to keep the relationship on track, because you want to have that child be 18 and want to spend time with you and want to spend time with you at 28 and 38 and 48. It's not all over when they're 18. They're still children.
Yes. All right. Well, so we are heading towards the end here. So Isla, I want you to go ahead and tell everybody how they can get a hold of you.
So I have a company that I created called Crack the Teen Code. And I would love you to reach out to me by email at isla@cracktheteencode.com. And then I know you're going to put my bundle into the episode here, so people can reach me there. And just literally click on the URL and you'll go right into being able to download my guide and my invitation to my masterclass. And I hope that everybody will join me for the masterclass and come ask your questions, learn what you want to learn, and help me be able to help you. That's my goal in life.
That's so great. Thank you, Isla. And also you can find Isla on the brightbyyourside.com website, brightbyyourside.com/services. That's where she'll be. Also, I just want to talk about my next episode that I hope you guys tune in. I hope you enjoyed this. We're going to talk about things your doctor isn't telling you that's stressing you out. And I'm going to give you like one right now. Did you know that too much spinach causes kidney stones? So if you ever had a kidney stone, it's not a secret. It's not a mystery. You actually can control it. You can look up spinach, kidney stones, or oxalates. So think about that. If you are carrying around this cloud, you just relieved your anxiety about that. You can control that. So I have a ton of these things that doctors aren't telling you. They're just giving you medicine. So I hope you join me for my next episode. And also remember to come to brightbyyourside.com. I'm also giving away a free sleep guide. It 31 tips to better sleep, and a sleep tracker and journal page that you can print out and track your sleep and your progress. Sleep is so important. And we talked about that last episode. So, also, I have spaces open for coaching. If you are interested in having me coach you, we can talk about whether it's your anxiety and overwhelm, or maybe you just want to make a pivot. We can work through that. You just need a safe space to work that out. There are steps to making a big pivot. And sometimes your partner doesn't want to hear about it too much. They don't like it. So feel free to reach out to me and we can schedule a coaching session. I do have some sessions open. All right. So that's it for me. Thank you for joining us on Bright by Your Side with Jen, Upleveling in the Age of Anxiety with Groundbreaking Science. And I just want to thank you so much. I'm so grateful. I'm Jen Dyer, your host, and hope you have a great rest of your day.
You have been listening to Bright by Your Side with Jen, Upleveling in the Age of Anxiety with Groundbreaking Science on Transformation Talk Radio. If you are considering mental health medication for yourself or your child, please try this first. Life skills and gut health are keys to reducing anxiety. Let us show you it's easier than you think. Tune in every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Pacific Time to feel optimistic about your own abilities and learn easy, proven ways to live life with ease. Become resilient to stress, anxiety, and overwhelm, and find joy. We're bringing you solutions to the problems stressing you out. We do the research for you and present it on a silver platter with a side of fun and laughter. Every show will leave you smiling, optimism and joy in real time. To connect with Jen, visit brightbyyourside.com.